welcome back everybody to another episode of Recruitment Uncensored. We almost nearly missed going live because we were having such a big chat, weren't we? We nearly got lost. I was like, oh shit, we've got 30 seconds till we go live. So it's me today as usual, Kate, but I've got a returning guest on with me today. I've got Holly Langley. Say hi, Holly.
Hello everybody. Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me back again, Kate.
Yeah, she's back and we're talking about something different today. We're talking about automation in recruitment. Is it really that good? We did a bit of a spoiler on the promo and said yes, it is. So it is that good. So that's what we're going to be talking about for the next half an hour. What I would encourage any of you watching to do is just any questions you've got, any comments, put them in the chat. I will cover off as many as I can. And if we don't get time to cover them all off, we can jump on the event after and Holly can have a gander at them. So anything that doesn't make sense, any questions that you've got, please make it as interactive as possible and put those in the comments. Before I come to the first question, because I've been pulled up on this before by a viewer, I don't want to assume that everybody knows what we mean by automation in recruitment. So in layman's terms, like what does that mean?
So there's 1,000,001 different automations that you can do within, let's say, the recruitment lifecycle. Now, just a really simple example would be if you're sending a LinkedIn email on LinkedIn Recruiter, you can send an automated follow-up. So 2 days later, if they haven't replied, there is an automatic message that goes out. So to me, the best description of automation is something that is taking place that is not a manual process or a manual task or a manual reminder that the sales team or the recruitment consultants or even the accounts or the ops people have to do on a daily basis. Just as an example, if you are writing down in your notebook that you've got a candidate interviewing at 9 a.m, what you have had to do is log the interview, hopefully somewhere on your CRM. You then had to write that in your notebook on the right day at the interview. And then after the interview, and maybe even before, you're going to have to contact that candidate and maybe the sales contact to find out how that process has gone. But if you can automate a very small amount of that process, then you're going to get a reminder before the interview, after the interview. You can send interview confirmation out as all part of the same process, and then even get that interview feedback as well. So it's very much helping and supporting. It's not taking the job away from a recruitment consultant, not one bit. This is streamlining this and supporting them to do their role and to make sure they can focus their time on what is really important. If you're a recruitment consultant, I'm pretty sure you don't want to spend hours a week doing admin and admin and admin. So this can reduce your admin so you can do the stuff that you really, really love doing, which hopefully is getting on the phone or sending messages and making contact with the right candidates or contacts at the right time so you can get more jobs on and obviously inevitably more placements, which is what we all want, right?
Yes, definitely. More money. Woohoo! That's what everybody wants, isn't it? Especially at the moment. Okay, so let's go to the first question then. So a lot of people will be new to automation. So where should they start? Because I know you said there's so many things you can automate, isn't there? So where should they begin?
So I'm going to break this down into kind of two sections. Now, within your CRM, you may well have a product that you can use to automate certain things. For example, the interview reminders, you could just send candidate engagements. You could send new business messages, emails or WhatsApp messages or text, whatever, to your contacts. Now, I'm sorry to say that's not going to be particularly helpful if your data isn't right. If on your system, you've got 100,000 candidates and 50% of them have no email address or have not been spoken to for 10 years and they do not have an email address and no phone number, you're going to be very quickly realizing that those messages just are not getting through. So to start with, if you're doing stuff within your CRM, please go and tidy that data. A few really good places to start, write these down, would be candidates with no email address and no phone number. If they have neither of those things, you cannot speak to them. From a GDPR point of view, candidates who haven't been spoken to within a set period of time. Normally, I'm no GDPR expert, but normally if they haven't been spoken to for 4 years or more, you may want to archive them
4 or
from the
5,
system.
isn't it?
Yeah, it varies from business to business. Candidates who you've just never spoken to. So there's a whole load of like, that's going to be a lot of candidates there that you can already archive, change the status or tidy up and remove them from your system, or try and send them something or connect with them or get their details from a third party. So anything we can do to clean that data is going to be really, really important. So that's kind of, if you're doing stuff within your CRM, please clean the data. If you're doing something outside of your CRM and you're looking at something like engaging prospects or candidates on something like LinkedIn, and there's a variety of, I know, like automation tools that plug into LinkedIn, that's a really good place to start, but you need to work out what is happening and what is the purpose of it. It's very easy, and I sometimes do this, to think, all right, I'm gonna go away and I'm gonna get this software, and it's gonna email all of my contacts, and it's gonna do this, and it's gonna connect with them, and blah blah blah. But what is the purpose of that? Like, where in the sales cycle is this supposed to be happening? Are you doing this? Are you messaging people who you know? Are you messaging people who you don't know? Because if you're messaging them on LinkedIn and they're not replying, but you've got their phone number in your CRM, who you could just pick up the phone and call and kind of build out that process even more, that may be a better way to do it. So I think anything you're doing outside of the CRM, and if you're looking to buy a new product that you don't already have, just really think of the purpose of what you're trying to do, to make sure you always have that in mind, so you don't get carried away by all this new AI products here, left, right, and center that's coming out. We need to focus on what is the purpose of the automation and what do you want the result to be, so you stay focused, so you can get there in the end and get the results that you need. So data and just general purpose and results should be a really great place to start.
We've had a really good question come in that I want to bring up from Francis Kelly. Hi, Francis. Thanks for joining us today. Which is a really important question, I think, and I wouldn't know where to start with it. I hope you do and know the answer. So what measures can be taken to prevent discrimination in automated recruitment systems? And I know that's going to be on a lot of people's minds now, isn't it?
Well, I've never been asked that question before, so thank you for challenging me today. I always love that. So it's a really interesting one. And for me, I'm going to go briefly back to the data now. So when we're looking at automation, if we're looking at something specifically within now, I'm going to talk briefly about a CRM again. I would always be basing automations on activity and obviously the data behind it. So let's just say we would send out an automated email to every candidate who has not been spoken to in the last 6 months, 6 years, whatever that may be. So due to that, and if you can go and set your automations up based upon like activity within the CRM, you're not necessarily going in and you're not going, right, she's not right for the role, he's not right for the role, or due to their education, they're not quite right. You're kind of basing it upon what's happened between your relationship with them in the past. And then they will then have an opportunity to come back to you and update their CV and all of that sort of fun stuff with updating categories and skills or whatever that looks like, or their industry or what their job title. So you can reflect it and then that can update your CRM. So I would always try and build automations based upon activity rather than like really, really granular detail. Within something else, if we were to look outside of that, and I suppose if you're looking at something like LinkedIn Recruiter or some of these LinkedIn messages and the tools that you have within that, I would try to be slightly more broader in the automations. So if you're trying to engage candidates for job opportunities, then I would always recommend getting your recruiter search up or finding the right candidates and then messaging them who you think like really looks right based upon their skills and their experience, rather than too much of the fine details like location and their background and wherever they, and when I say education, I specifically mean their education regarding the role that they need to do. So I would try to make it as broad as you can. And then if you get down the line and then you've got loads of candidates who just aren't relevant for your roles because they don't quite fit the criteria that your client has set out regarding location, then it is then much easier for you to say, look, you're not quite ready for the role this time. However, please do engage with us and we'll add you to our system. So then there might be something else that is suitable for them. So I think try and keep it broad where you can, if that makes sense. And then you can always make it smaller fields if necessary. I am no DE&I expert, and I think that is an excellent question. And I'm going to do some more research into it. So Francis, expect a LinkedIn newsletter from me at some point in the next 2 weeks covering that off. And
it's coming.
Really interesting. Honestly, I've never been asked that before. It's very interesting, and it does make you think. And I suppose the question is it will come back to how is your database set up? Like I'm seeing very few databases these days that actually track the gender, track age, date of birth. Most of them don't.
Yeah, well, actually,
yeah,
that's a really good point from Jade Pope. There's Mixil. So Dan Cohen, I had on as a guest 3-4 shows ago. If anyone wants to go watch it back, it's sitting on YouTube. And Mixil works a lot with the data around all of that and looks at like the CRM and things. Again, I'm not an expert in his product, but yes, it's brilliant. But I was thinking as well, then I think sometimes going back to Francis, I'll bring it back up. I suppose sometimes it's, and I know we're saying automation is great and makes sense, but for some people that say you put together a message that's going to go out on LinkedIn or to your database, and it's written in one way, isn't it? So it's not going to change that message. I think sometimes it's maybe for some, then it's like, okay, well, in that automation stream, maybe that this group of people didn't respond, but maybe is it because of the way the language we used, or that it was an email, and for other people they prefer to speak over the phone and they're more comfortable. And so I suppose it's a massive question and subject, isn't it? And a good one. So yeah, can you send me the newsletter as well? Because I will. Know.
And I think that's what it, and that, or just to touch upon that point, you're right. Like there are some people who won't have access to that's email or phone, or they won't be on WhatsApp, or they won't be on LinkedIn, and that's okay. So the best way I see automation is always supporting hopefully what we're doing, but you can any best sales process. I think I'm sure Kate, you would agree here. It is covering off contact via the phone, contact via LinkedIn, email. Don't just have one channel. So if that person doesn't use WhatsApp and you're continually WhatsApping them, they're gonna not have that level of communication. So try to keep your communication style varied so it targets as many people as you can.
Yeah. Well, that was a meaty start to the show, wasn't it?
I know that.
Holly's like, I'm exhausted. Right. Well, we've got we're still only on question 1, so let's go to question 2. So, what is your favorite automation and why is it your favorite?
So at this precise moment in time, I really love a lapsed client automation. Now, that is mainly because where the market is at the moment, let's face it, business development is something that most agencies are trying to really push for. So this is it's a really great one. So
I used to love going through lapsed clients.
Oh, I think it's fascinating. So for those of you, again, who just want this in really granular detail, I say clients, but to be honest, I'm looking at the contacts. I will be looking at contacts who you have had a job with or have placed with in the last, let's say, 3 years, but in the last 3 months or 6 months, they have had no communications with you at all. So that means that they haven't given you a job recently. They haven't, you haven't had any more placements from them. So, but they're valued customers because you have done, hopefully, a really good job with them in the past. So this automation and the way you can automate this would then be prompting the consultant, ideally, to say, FYI, like this contact hasn't been spoken to for however long, or their last note was, I think this is a really good time to give them a call. And then you can send them a couple of engagement emails to support that as well. And then just kind of keep that process going. So it highlights the fact that this contact is no longer sort of an active client. And what this is really useful for is sometimes you'll have a recruitment consultant who sadly leaves the business. So a lot of their client base may not have been handed over properly. So there might be people there who have left. Alternatively, going back to what we were saying about the data, is you might run this list of all of your lovely lapsed clients. And I spoke to somebody yesterday who said, yeah, we ran that list, Holly, and there were 500 out of the 500, 100 had actually left the business and they were somewhere else at a competitor. And I said, another client. And I said, well, fine. Let's get that list of 100. Let's get them added back under the new contact. Let's now re-engage them as almost new clients and leads, because you've now got a new contact at a new company that you can work with. So it's a really good one. And that's my personal favorite at the moment. However, when the market turns to engaging candidates, ask me again. In the comments, I've actually got a lovely automation for you. I'm not sure if I can add this as a comment. So, Kate, I've put it in the chat and I'm going to send it over to you to comment.
I will.
There is
be able to put it in now.
Thank you.
See if it works.
Feel free to go in. There is a download here where you can download. This is an automation that I've built specifically.
Yeah, I've just added it.
Thank you. This is built with Bullhorn in mind. However, if you don't use Bullhorn and use another CRM, you could very easily replicate that within your CRM. If you have no automations within your business right now, and you're thinking, oh, we really need to do that, just within your CRM, find out the contacts who have had placements and vacancies within a set time period and no recent contact. That will pull up your list and that's your BD list for this afternoon.
And actually, I know you said at the moment the client wants your favourite, but I mean, you can do exactly the same thing, can't you, for the candidate side of things? But there's something you keep saying that I think brings us back to the importance of the data. And I see it a lot with consultants where, they're like, oh yeah, that candidate or that client's on whatever CRM they use, but you go on and half the stuff's not filled in. And it's like, it's only as good as the information you put in, and it needs to be there. So you can do things like automations and, track people properly and find people, that you've got on the system. Yeah. So I think it comes back to, like you said with the first question, when you begin, I think it's going through and making sure that everything's up to date.
And that's
a nice cleanse, spring clean.
Yeah. You don't need to write a 25-line note for every time you have a call with a client. Like, that doesn't need to happen. I'm okay with that. But just add some sort of information, even if it's just 2 or 3 sentences that says, spoke to blah, blah, blah. They weren't hiring at the moment for any roles. However, we had a really good conversation about the market, and I asked if they were going to this event in London in 3 weeks' time, which they are. I said that I'd call back in July. Like something like that. That's not overly complicated. You don't need to go in loads and loads of details, but you can log it and add some information there. So the next time you call that contact, you've got some insights there, and your future self will thank you. You may think, why do I need to have this log this now? But it will help you, and it hasn't got to be overly complicated. You can, if you have a headset. I was actually on site with a client about a month ago, and all of their team were just using like their phone to make calls. So the recruiters were on the phone to the clients, and then they were making notes with one hand. And I said, look, I'd really recommend.
I used to do that years ago. I used to have a bad neck all the time, so it'd be like this.
And I said, I could really, if you could just get if you get a headset or whatever you need to get, so your recruiters can be on the phone and actually make notes with 2 hands. That will make. I know it's a really basic thing, and they laughed when I said it, but I was like, no, honestly, you'll make a massive difference. The quality of the notes that get made.
Than one. Yeah. Okay, Francis, I have seen your other question. If I get time, I'll come back to it. If we don't get time, we'll jump on the chat after about it. But I want to make sure we've got time for this final question, which is, and I know this is going to be what a lot of people watching will want to know basically, is what are the results you can get from implementing automation processes?
So for me, there's 3 things. Firstly, better communications with your candidates and contacts. If you're not automating stuff, you may not have the opportunity to connect with them. You may not be reminded to connect with them. And also, if you're able to automate stuff that is then going to be supporting you to make calls at the right time, you can, or these days you can automate texts, WhatsApps, you can automate LinkedIn messages. It's just going to make that communication easier. And there is I haven't got the figure off the top of my head, but like a contractor who's within your business, there was a survey out at the beginning of this year. It's something like they want to be spoken to 2 or 3 times a month if they're a live contractor with you. So I'm not saying you need to pick up the phone and have a 30-minute call with them every week. That would be insane, unless you got some really good leads and MI from it. But you can automate parts of that process so the communication is better and is supporting your candidates and contacts with how they want to be communicated with. So better communication and really enhanced communication at the right time. And I think just it's efficient. Like if we look at something like scheduling an interview reminder, or going to a LinkedIn follow-up message, just those 2 examples. If you don't have that automation in place, you're going to have to go and create a lovely interview reminder follow-up like email that's got all the information in, and that might take a recruiter 10 minutes. But therefore 10 minutes 10 times a week all of a sudden is well over an hour and a half just sending interview reminders. So if we can make the team more efficient, then that is going to support them, which means they can have better communications and better calls and get doing what they should be doing and what we want them to do more, because they're not here to do admin. And I think the last thing is, I suppose, profitability. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that if you get automation in your business, you're going to be twice as successful this time tomorrow, because these things don't sadly always happen that quickly. But in the long run, you should get better results because your team are more efficient. You've got better communications. You're waking up dormant accounts like that lapsed clients one, and you should be able to do more. There is more and more products out there within the CRM and outside of that as well that are matching candidates to your jobs for you. So all you come in, they're shortlisted. You can email, or you can actually email that shortlist as well. But they are automatically shortlisting candidates. So then your recruiter adds the job. They go and make their cup of coffee. They come back, boom, 20 candidates in their shortlist. Then you go in and you do some more advanced searching, and then you can start calling them. So we should be able to help you make more placements quicker through all of that combination. So if we can be efficient, have better communication, then it should lead to much more profitability in the long run. And like, you don't have to sit here and panic and go, I need 100 automations to get to that point. If there's one thing you can automate in your business, whatever that may be, is going to help you get to that end goal of being a really high performing agency.
Yeah. Now I am going to bring this question up. It's a meatier one, but we've got a few minutes before I do the roundup, so I thought we'll bring it up. And the reason I've brought it up, so it's about preserving the human element in recruitment. So for me, I think personally, automated phone calls for me are a step too far, and I think to me, automation and AI works great for the tasks that like some of the behind the scenes stuff, like you were saying, like some searching stuff on the CRM, the things like speaking to people, the relationship building. I personally don't believe, and this could be like a big no-no for some people, but this is just my belief, that it needs to be this our fucking job. Like, pick up the phone and ring somebody. And also, it then makes the space more open for a wider range of candidates, a wider range of clients. You can't, to me, establish partnerships and relationships and trust over constant automation all the time. So for me, I know I'm giving my 2 pennies worth, and you're the guest, so I should shut up. But that, to me, automation is great, but to be used for things like you've already pointed out, tasks that, yes, we could do them, but they can behind the scenes be happening with somebody else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you entirely. Like, I think we are here to place people in jobs, and we do that really well. And that is a very human to human process. And that needs to remain that way. Now, there are some things you can automate: emails, text messages, WhatsApps, but there are fundamentals for me, such as a candidate pre-screen or candidate registration, a interview preparation, interview feedback, offers, and just checking in, and things like, let's say, references and referrals. If you emailed somebody and said, do you know anyone who's also in your space because I've got a great job, they're probably going to ignore that. Like, why would they reply unless you're their top recruiter of the day? However, if you rang them, they'll be much more likely to give you that information. So I think it's very much about just the right message at the right time and in the right way. And I think for me, phone calls will be a step too far, and I hope that never happens in our industry. I probably, like many of you, get the occasional computerized AI voice thing, and I'm okay for the first 5 seconds, and I realize, and then they go quiet, and I go quiet, and then I hang up, and I think, oh my god, this is.
I don't think I've ever got one.
Oh well, I'll give you a call this
unless I haven't spotted it. Unless I haven't spotted it.
But I think it's a human process. But going back to the phone calls is, we can't automate the phone call. But what you could do is say to your consultant, FYI, this contact or this candidate has been in their job for 6 months now. Hopefully they're really enjoying it. Can you give them a quick call today to see how they're getting on? And that we don't need to have an automated phone call, but we're having an automated reminder for them to call that person who the system and our process is saying that's the right time to call them. If in 10 years' time we're using automated phone calls, then let's see how that goes. But I really hope that never happens. And that's what we're brilliant at. And I think what's quite interesting, to go off on a slight tangent, is a lot of companies are heavily relying on emails. I probably get 10 to 20 emails per day from salespeople. Not one of them ever tries to ring me.
It does my head in. Honestly, it really gets to me that these people are like, it's like, you're in sales, like, and this is why I pick up the phone. I practice what I preach. I will happily ring agency. Some of you might be watching thinking, yeah, bloody leave me alone, but that's not what I do. But just before I move, I'll do the roundup, but as well, this was a game changer for me recently, and I suppose this is AI/automation. Even with your calls, if you're doing Zoom, Teams, face-to-face meetup, sometimes you can build this into cloud calling. You can get stuff that transcribes the call. You can copy and paste the notes, put them straight in the CRM. Massive time saved, huge. But before I come back to you for your top tip, actually, this is tied in very nicely. It's almost like we did it on purpose. So my next guest is Jo Major. She is also a previous guest. And if you don't know Jo Major, she is founder of Diversity in Recruitment. She is a co-founder of Inclusive, I think it's Recruitment Foundation. So I was going to say Solutions then. She is a powerhouse in the D&I world, and she's coming on we're going to talk about, I always have to look at my trusty little post-it note for my notes for next time, how to create DE&I conversations with clients to win more business. This is going to be a great show and has linked in very nicely with some of the topics that we've talked about today. So that'll be 24th of July, 12:30. The event will go live from next week, so keep an eye out for that one. But I'd like to come back to you. We've got a couple of minutes left for your top tip. And I love this. Don't set and forget. Talk to me.
So for me, I work with a variety of different clients, and I come in and I look at their automations, or I sort of understand what they're doing. And what I see quite a lot is them set something up and they go, oh, we've got this great automation here. And then I come in, or they say, Holly, we need some further help here. And then we look into it, and for some reason it isn't working. Just as an example, I mentioned a few minutes ago about the pre-registration call, and that should be a sort of a call, really. Somebody had set up an engagement, so it just said, thank you for registering. We're going to give you a call, but in the meantime, can you answer these questions? And I was like, great, okay, I really like this idea. It means everything's coded up properly on the database. I then looked into it, and there was 18 questions. Now, I don't know many candidates who would fill in 18 questions before they've even spoken to a recruitment agency.
No.
So in that example, they'd set something up with really good intentions and it was brilliant. I liked the idea behind it, but they kind of forgot about it. They didn't really see if it was working. And then as a result, it wasn't quite where it needed to be. We condensed that and we're now reviewing it on a regular basis to see what the completion rate is like. And it's just like there's so much stuff out there. And if I keep going back to LinkedIn and the LinkedIn follow-ups, like they rolled that out maybe about a year ago now, and everyone was doing automated follow-ups to start with. A lot of people now don't know it's there and have forgotten about it. So make sure that if you've got that, please use it and just reviewing it, because the acceptance rates.
Yeah, I think that's important, isn't it?
It does really help. So please don't forget your automations. Please do go in, dedicate time like you would like with a trainee or experienced recruitment consultant to make them even better. If you've invested money and time in automations already, make sure they work for you.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, look, I've really enjoyed today. We've chatted about so much stuff, I feel like, and we went off on a tiny little bit of a tangent, but I think it was really interesting. And you've got inspo for a newsletter now, so even better.
Watch this space.
Watch your space. But thank you so much for coming on, Holly. For anyone that's watching, if you want to watch it again, if you go onto my YouTube channel, you can watch this as many times as you want. It will sit on there. Thank you to everyone that did join us live and for all your questions and comments. Anything we didn't cover off, we'll jump on later today and look at. Remember to connect with Holly. Is LinkedIn the best place to connect with you, Holly? I know you've got Instagram as well, haven't you, though?
Yeah. Oh, I've not dedicated much time to my Instagram recently. LinkedIn is the best place, and I will do some more Instagram stuff later on. Yeah, LinkedIn, Holly Langley. I'm sure you won't miss it.
You've got a YouTube channel as well, haven't you?
I do have a YouTube channel. Yep, fellow YouTuber over here. So yeah, I've just put up a video about. I've got loads of videos on there about LinkedIn and optimizing your LinkedIn profile, and some more videos coming about automations and BD and all of that sort of stuff, and how your CRM can support you with that.
Yeah, so get on that YouTube channel, and then remember there's the link for that free automation about lapsed clients, so jump on that as well. But we are all done for today. As I said, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see all of you on the 24th for when Joe joins me. Thanks a lot, everyone. See you soon.